John, the apostle, the beloved. What a gift his writings are to the whole church, the world. Today's gospel, of course, from the beloved disciple, as well as that second reading. But there's also the story that's told of the beloved disciple when he was very advanced in years, near the end of his life, when he was in exile on the Isle of Patmos. And there he lived in solitude in a cave, surrounded by a few chosen disciples. Because he was the last of the 12, every Sunday hundreds of Christians would come to that island, Patmos, for the Eucharist, to see John. And Sunday after Sunday, the disciples, they would carry the frail apostle down to the crowd of the people who had gathered. When the time came for him to preach, the crowd, they would draw in closer, since his voice was barely above a whisper. And Sunday after Sunday, he would say the same thing. Children, love one another. Children, love one another. And finally, after one such Sunday, one of his disciples, carrying him back to his cave, said, "Teacher, why do you keep repeating the same thing over and over? Children, love one another." "Because," he replied, "the Master kept repeating it over and over." The second Sunday of Easter, this Sunday of divine mercy. What is divine mercy? There's so many facets. But today I want us to focus on one. Love. Love of neighbor. And the Christian duty to love our neighbors. Jesus said, "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." God is love. And what does love do? Love. And we are commanded to do the same. It's not optional. They'll know we are Christians by our love. But it's so important to recognize love necessarily engages. Love rolls up its sleeves. Love keeps the commandments. Love goes to those darkest places. Love steps outside of oneself. It goes beyond comfort. It was Jesus himself who communicated to St. Faustina all about this divine mercy and love. Jesus, he told her, yes, the first Sunday after Easter is the Feast of Mercy, but there must also be acts of mercy. He said, "I demand from you deeds of mercy, which are to rise out of love for me. You are to show mercy to your neighbors, always and everywhere. You must not shrink from this or try to excuse or absolve yourself from it." I can tell you, the hardest thing for me is to step outside of my comfort zone. And again, I'm tempted to just stay inside myself, to myself. But mercy, our God, demands love. And love demands engagement. And so today, this Divine Mercy Sunday, I'm asking all of us to engage in love, to roll up our sleeves, to even step outside, to go to uncomfortable places, to go beyond comfort in order to bring love. We may or may not have heard by now, our home state is considering what is called physician-assisted suicide. And members of our state legislature have introduced a bill that would legalize this, death via physician-assisted suicide. And this is concerning for many, many reasons. Reason number one is that the direct killing of an innocent life is a grave offense against God. The fifth commandment, you shall not kill. But further, it's impossible to love someone while at the same time intentionally killing them. Finally, though there's so much we need to reflect on in this matter, a grave matter, a myriad of problems inevitably open up where physician-assisted suicide becomes legal. And we actually know this in looking at the places where it is legal. And just to know some of the examples, consider your elderly mother now living in the nursing home. She has a sizable inheritance, feeling sort of pressured and burdened, rather than using that to pay to live at the nursing home. She has this pressure to choose physician-assisted suicide in order to leave the inheritance to her loved ones. I imagine a situation, many of us have had parents who have died, and how much tension there can be between siblings and family. But imagine one of the children, a son, who's the power of attorney, is encouraging his mother to request that physician-assisted suicide, even though the siblings vehemently disagree. And just what that brings into a family. Providers are required to offer this assisted suicide as a standard treatment option. It's a requirement. A person can feel that burden to request these drugs, the suicide drugs, not for pain, but because they can't do the same activities they could do earlier in life. Maybe they can't control their bodily functions, or they simply feel like a burden. Think of all those who may live without immediate family members, and because of the high cost of care, it's, ultimately be left to the state, the county, and the pressure to economically choose suicide for those who don't have a voice. You can begin to see all these problems that are just on the horizon if this goes through. And Jesus said, I demand from you deeds of mercy. You are to show mercy to your neighbors always and everywhere. You must not shrink from this or try to excuse or absolve yourself from it. Love engages. Love rolls up its sleeves. Love steps outside. My dear Christians, we're in a time where we need to raise our voice. We must raise our voice because we must love our neighbor.